Renuka, it's a big topic, but if I can ask you to share with us your assessment of how Sri Lanka has progressed in terms of women's empowerment in the workplace.
Well, yes, as you said, it's a huge topic. Looking back at where women are today in terms of where they were maybe even 10, 20 years ago. So we do see, even in the educational institutions, currently, you see more people enrolling are female. When you look at the numbers of employment, there is a 50-50 in terms of female and male. I think there's a lot of progression, make it easier for the female workforce to progress, to have career paths, to have very definitive maybe mentorships that would help them to progress in their journey in the workforce.
How should we and how could we raise this 35% to be higher?
Yes, I think that is very topical. Although the pandemic was a very big downside, I think one good side of it was where people learned to work remotely. So I think that itself has given the opportunity for females to get back into the workforce. So this opened the window where, traditionally it was always okay, 8 to 5 or whatever. And towards that, I had seen a lot of private companies even helping to upskill, because if they had been home maybe 2-3 years, they may needed to upskill to get back, but they did that. And if you look at the BOI and our companies, we would factor in that there should be the childcare, that means the infrastructure is there, so that anyone coming in to work would be comfortable to know that there would be a space for them to leave their children, where they could go and maybe during the lunch break go and have a look at. So that ecosystem is again something we encourage. And even to have feeding rooms for mothers, for young mothers. So those are things we are really encouraging the companies to adapt as well.
Sri Lanka has made great strides in terms of empowering women. We spoke about all of this and more with Renuka Weerakoon. Stay tuned.
For 30 years, LMD has been the voice of business in Sri Lanka, capturing the pulse of the nation's corporate landscape through its iconic covers. Each cover tells a story, from the first edition in 1994 to the present day, narrating key moments, leaders and trends that have shaped Sri Lanka's business ecosystem. Over the years, LMD covers have featured thought leaders, business pioneers and game-changing innovations, reflecting the evolution of industries and the economy. As we celebrate 30 years, these covers represent more than just publications. They are a testament to LMD's legacy of excellence in business journalism and its unwavering commitment to being Sri Lanka's leading voice of business. LMD, Sri Lanka's voice of business, a legacy of 30 years.
Hello and welcome to LMDtv. The topic of conversation today is workplace productivity and women's empowerment. And I'm here with Director General and CEO of BOI Sri Lanka, Renuka Weerakoon. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Ruwandi. It's a pleasure being here.
Lovely to have you. Renuka, it's a big topic. I know workplace productivity is big, women's empowerment is even bigger. But if I can ask you to share with us your assessment of how Sri Lanka has progressed in terms of women's empowerment in the workplace.
Well, yes, as you said, it's a huge topic. But looking back at where women are today in terms of where they were maybe even 10, 20 years ago, I think we have progressed a lot in terms of the female gender. And when you look at, even in my own workplace, almost close to 50% or marginal a bit more are women. So we do see, even in the educational institutions, currently, you see more people enrolling are female. So we see that the female population have now looked at progressing in terms of careers, in terms of going out to work. Whereas maybe when we were younger and our parents were more housewives, or, who were more complacent in being playing the role of a housewife or looking after childcare, etc. You see there's a trend where a lot of people, maybe due to economic factors, that the female workforce is increasing. Typically, if you even look at the sectors that, if looking at BOI companies, there would be, say, manufacturing, agriculture, tourism. When you look at the numbers of employment, there is a 50-50 in terms of female and male. So, and it is only increasing. And even like if you look at the empowerment, even if you look at the airlines, now you see female pilots. And we see that now happening in the port sector, where the cranes were only handled by the males. But now with technology, the females are also able to even be able to load and unload cranes from ships. So the terminal operations are all done through utilizing the female skills. I think there's a lot of progression.
Right.
But having said that, I think there's a long way more to go.
True.
Because despite being able to be on par or even better sometimes than their male counterparts, you do see a tendency where they do not get that break that is more deserving.
True.
And they find it harder to break this glass ceiling, so to speak.
Yes.
So it is something I believe that we as female leaders, as people who are thought shapers and leaders, would be able to make it easier for the female workforce to progress, to have career paths, to have very definitive maybe mentorships that would help them to progress in their journey in the workforce.
Renuka, you gave the perfect introduction to the conversation because you highlighted a lot of things that I want to touch on. Starting with, like you said, we see that a lot of females enroll at universities and successfully finish degrees. However, there is a gap where only about 30 to 35% are part of the labor force. So as Sri Lanka has a huge goal of economic stability and growth, how should we and how could we raise this 35% to be higher?
Yes, I think that is very topical. So there are different ways, I believe. Although the pandemic was a very big downside, I think one good side of it was where people learned to work remotely.
Yeah.
So I think that itself has given the opportunity for females to get back into the workforce, because they may have, with childbearing age and having to being young mothers, they may have left their jobs because the extended families may not be the same as it used to be. So in terms of looking after child caring, they would have left, but they still have the ability and the potential to contribute towards economic activities. So this opened a window where, I mean, traditionally it was always okay, 8 to 5 or whatever, but it opened out a window where the females were able to come back into the workforce. And towards that, I had seen a lot of private companies even helping to upskill, because if they had been home maybe 2-3 years, they may needed to upskill to get back, but they did that. And we saw a huge number, coming back into the workforce, especially in the digital area, in the IT sector, BPO sector. There was a big move, and it continues to date. So it didn't stop with that. So now even organizations have adopted into being able to assign work to someone who would be able to complete the assignment irrespective of the timelines. So that has given a lot of flexibility for young mothers, even mothers who are older and who still, have the capacity to contribute to come back into the workforce. So I think that is a big drive towards going towards increasing the 35%. And if you look at the BOI and our companies, again, what we are positioning is when we do set up new zones, for example, which we are going to roll out this year, we would factor in that there should be the childcare, that means the infrastructure is there, so that anyone coming in to work would be comfortable to know that there would be a space for them to leave their children, where they could go and maybe during the lunch break go and have a look at. So that again would encourage the workers to come in and give that support system that they may not have in the locality in which they are living. So there again we see that would in time help towards contributing towards a higher percentage of female participation in
Building that
workforce.
ecosystem so that
Within that ecosystem, because as when we first started out in 78, that aspect had not been looked at. But subsequently, we have now introduced creches, daycare centers, etc. into our zones, into about 3 or 4 of our zones, and we are rolling it out into the others, which is actually something that the workers really appreciate. And some companies itself also have their own systems where they are helping, because in this setup within the zones also the companies pay part of the fee for the child to be there. So it is really very encouraging, and it helps them out a lot. So that ecosystem is again something we encourage, and even to have feeding rooms for mothers, for young mothers. So those are things we are really encouraging the companies to adapt as well.
That's a lot of optimism. And talking about another sector, because like you said, these little strategies really work. Talking about Sri Lanka's major export earners, if we take maybe apparel and tea, we are seeing a lot of participation of women. However, we're seeing that it is more in terms of factory floor level. How can we make sure that there is career progression for them so that they aspire to be going into higher levels?
Yes, so there again, I think our companies are very progressive in terms of how they have laid out the career paths and the potential for even the flow, someone on the floor to be able to aspire to become a supervisor. So, and I have seen this in our company, especially in the apparel sector, where you find earlier where it used to be all male, where the supervisors were male. I mean, any part of the value chain was male. And we have seen so many females now heading it. And these are some things that really come out because when the BOI itself encourages on, especially on International Women's Day, for the workers to participate, where they would come in and they would show their soft skills in terms of poetry, in terms of uh, writing and whatever, that even art and performance. And some of them do come up and then they talk about their journey, how they started. They started at the shop floor and how they have progressed now into the supervisor level, and the journey throughout, which is a very good testament and encouragement for the others to know that you can reach that level. So that, I think, our companies are very mature in terms of giving that guideline and setting the career path so anyone can aspire towards it. And there, I have seen, even when it comes to internet, like awards, like the presidential awards, for example, it is someone, maybe the supervisor, who comes along with management to take the award. So I mean, they are appreciated to that much, and they get that sense of being valued. And so I think that's really beautiful what the companies themselves are doing towards encouraging the female participants to to always aspire to go beyond what they're doing. Exactly. Yeah. And I think it would be similar in the tea sector. We are not so much into the tea aspects. We do have companies, but I guess in their operations as well, you do, if I'm not mistaken, have female tea tasters now, which used to be again
Very male dominant.
dominated.
Yes.
So we do see that females have also taken that bold step to go into areas which have been predominantly male. So I mean, kudos to them.
Kudos to them. Renuka, like you said, organizations are taking a lot of steps towards, empowering them to come. But if I be the devil's advocate and ask, what are the challenges that are yet to be overcome, both from an individual and organizational level?
Well, Ruwandi, I think it comes down to your individual self-esteem as well, and your confidence in what you can deliver, right? So that, I think, plays a major role, because despite being progressive and advanced and educated and professionally qualified, whatever, it still is tough for women to really be accepted and,
Got to fight for your space.
fight for your space. So it takes a lot of grit and determination, I would say,
Right.
to really make the mark. And what I would say is, like, if you are very sure of your area of expertise And if you can contribute in a sense that adds value to any situation, that would be the way you would have to prove yourself, so to speak, to be able to be accepted into a certain circle or into a certain management level. It is, I think, I have seen women struggling. I mean, as a woman myself, I have also gone through times where, you may be the only single woman in that whole meeting room.
Yeah.
But you stand your ground, you contribute, and you don't really need to look at yourself as a woman or a man. It is a matter of, being able to deliver end of the day, right? So I think that's why I said it's a lot of your personal confidence and your personal drive as well, which would help a woman to go forward. And as women, I believe that it is maybe duty to also encourage others.
That's true.
And to be a role model for others, just to show them that through sheer grit and courage, you can make it where you want to, and you should not let people step on you, put you down, because you're very worthy of whatever you are aspiring to. So I think that's something I would like to just tell out here. Nothing is impossible.
It's time now to take a very short break, but we soon be back to talk more about women's empowerment.
Display your brand message on digital screens at prime locations. The largest digital advertising network in Sri Lanka. Emerging Media.
Welcome back to the show. We're in conversation with the Director General and CEO of BOI Sri Lanka, Renuka Weerakoon. I'm going to steer the conversation to a slightly different level now. We always say that we need more productivity, regardless of, men, women, or like any position. We need to increase workplace productivity in the country. And women's empowerment is probably going to lead to that. But how does it play out?
Right. So again, productivity might link back to what we were talking about earlier as well. Whether you are in a very strict time frame type of environment where you're tied to timelines to deliver, or whether you have a flexibility.
Right.
That itself, I think, would contribute towards productivity. And I think as organizations, we also need to move away from manual systems, for example, which takes so much of time. If you take several departments, the same document may be, redone in each of them, and you waste a lot of time. So we have to look at our systems, whether it is private sector, public sector, how we don't duplicate, how typically, I mean, even if you go for your ID or your passport or whatever, I mean, it's all on file, on record, but it's not on e-file maybe. So we have progressed there also, I think, quite a lot. So similarly, even in a work environment, you would be looking at the same document. If it's one project, it would be the same footprint, but it would go through different areas in the organization, and you reproduce the same thing. So we as leaders, as the management, should have that ecosystem where people don't waste time on things like that, where their time can be used more productively, and where they can, then you really cut time, cut time, cost and everything. So yeah, that would be one way of looking at it. And I have seen the adaptation of even semi-automation, etc., in the work shop floor that has helped towards increasing product lines. And very interestingly, sometimes it is the workers themselves who would tell the management, why not we do this way, and we would be able to cut down so much of time, because practically it is they who would face that, who would be doing it, and they find little shortcuts, and it helps a lot to cut down the lead times. So I mean, it's always good to have a ear out and hear out what the shop floor says as well. And even in an office environment where they would have their own ideas, how things can be done better. So giving ear to the others is also part of, I think, increasing productivity. Yes.
Renuka, even in a previous answer, you spoke a lot about digital technologies and how they are changing the game, really. If I ask you, how is that adoption rate and how is the digital literacy really helping women be more empowered and, of course, lead to more productivity?
Yes, so I think the digital era has given so much of opportunity for especially the younger generation.
Yes.
Because you see a lot of enterprise entrepreneurship that is just based on digital platforms. I mean, if you look at the current generation, most of their businesses are run with online platforms. Yes. So they really have cut down costs on having offices, on having showroom spaces, and that has really worked. So digitization, I think, is the way forward. And even if you take the older population or the mid-level career people, the opportunities that have opened out in terms of being able to, rather than doing low pay uh, work in Sri Lanka, where they can actually work digitally for enterprises located outside, because now it is, the work environment is not confined to an office or to a country. It is like global.
Yeah.
So you can just, log in and get a higher pay,
Yes.
a higher remuneration, and do something that you are really enjoying doing, and at a flexible time, because most countries may be asleep when we are awake and vice versa. So that flexibility gives them the opportunity to really, make the best of their professional skills and progress as well. So I think that is something very positive that has contributed towards the females to be able to set out and go out and
On their
grow.
own. Yes.
Yes,
Both in terms of entrepreneurship and, like you said, even in terms of the organization.
correct.
Okay, lovely. It's been a really, really interesting conversation, Renuka, but I'm sadly at the end of my questions. In one of your answers, you said that women, we should not downplay our self-worth. If I twist it to how women leaders can make sure that they are more, they're better role models or better mentors, and to like widen the career progression path for others, what would be your advice to them?
Yes, so what I would encourage is to maybe try out what we are doing at our organization, the BOI, where we have actually identified mentors, women mentors, who would be able to mentor the next generation into stepping into their shoes, and then again be role models and in how they are delivering what is expected of them and beyond.
Yes.
So I think in every organization it is important, because however skilled or however proactive you are, sometimes you need that one person to be your champion for you. Otherwise you may just get not heard enough.
Yeah.
So it is important that each individual has a mentor. I wouldn't say it has to be a woman, it could be a male, it could be anyone. But mentorship is very important. Someone they could go to, sound out their ideas, and then contribute in a very significant manner.
Yeah.
And then someone who would also be able to, yes, say yes and champion your cause. So I would really encourage everyone in any setup, whether it is shop floor or office environment, to have someone who would be there to guide you and mentor you, which is very important, highly important.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ruwandi.
Today, we've been in conversation with the Director General and CEO of VOI Sri Lanka, Renuka Weerakoon. Thank you very much for a very insightful conversation.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you, Ruwandi.
And thank you to all our viewers for joining us. Until next time, take care.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X. Thank you for watching and stay safe.